Gun fu, a portmanteau of gun and kung fu, is a fictional style of sophisticated close-quarters gunplay resembling a martial arts battle played out with firearms instead of traditional weapons. It can be seen in Hong Kong action cinema and in Western films influenced by it, and may also be described by other terms, such as bullet ballet, gun kata, or gymnastic gunplay. The focus of gun fu is both style and the usage of firearms in ways that they were not designed to be used. Shooting a gun from each hand, usually paired with jumping to the side at the same time, shots from behind the back, as well as the use of guns as melee weapons are all common. Other moves can involve shotguns, submachine guns, rocket launchers, and just about anything else that can be worked into a cinematic shot. It is often mixed with hand-to-hand combat maneuvers. Gun fu has become a staple factor in modern action films due to its visually appealing nature, regardless of its actual practicality in a real-life combat situation. This is a contrast to American action movies of the 1980s, which focused more on heavy weaponry and outright brute force in firearm-based combat. Director John Woo originated the style in the Hong Kong film A Better Tomorrow in 1986. The film launched the heroic bloodshed genre in Hong Kong, and gun fu action sequences became a regular feature in many of the subsequent heroic bloodshed films. John Woo continued to make several classic heroic bloodshed films, all featuring gun fu, and all starring leading man Chow Yun-fat. Chow wielding a gun in each hand became an iconic cinema image around the world. Anthony Leung wrote of the gunfights in A Better Tomorrow. Before 1986, Hong Kong cinema was firmly rooted in two genres, the martial arts film and the comedy. Gunplay was not terribly popular, because audiences had considered it boring, compared to fancy kung fu moves or graceful swordplay of the Wushu epics. What moviegoers needed was a new way to present gunplay, to show it as a skill that could be honed, integrating the acrobatics and grace of the traditional martial arts. And that's exactly what John Woo did. Using all of the visual techniques available to him, tracking shots, dolly-ins, slow-mo, Woo created beautifully surrealistic action sequences that were a guilty pleasure to watch. There is also intimacy found in the gunplay. Typically, his protagonists and antagonists will have a profound understanding of one another and will meet face to face, in a tense Mexican standoff where they each point their weapons at one another and trade words. Stephen Hunter, writing in The Washington Post, wrote, Woo saw gunfights in musical terms. His primary conceit was the shootout as dance number, with great attention paid to choreography, the movement of both actors within the frame. He loved to send his shooters flying through the air in surprising ways, far more poetically than in any real-life scenario. He frequently diverted to slow motion, and he specialized in shooting not merely to kill, but to riddle. His shooters often blast their opponents 5 and 6 times. Other Hong Kong directors also began using gun fu sequences in films that were not strictly heroic bloodshed films, such as Wong Jing's God of Gamblers, 1989. There were several heroic bloodshed films that did not feature gun fu, but opted for more realistic combat, such as Ringo Lam's City on Fire, 1987. The popularity of John Woo's films, and the heroic bloodshed genre in general, in the West helped give the gun fu style greater visibility. Filmmakers like Robert Rodriguez were inspired to create action sequences modeled on the Hong Kong style. One of the first to demonstrate this was Rodriguez's Desperado, 1995. The Matrix, 1999, played a part in making gun fu the most popular form of firearm-based combat in cinema worldwide. Since then, the style has become a staple of modern Western action films. One classic gun fu move consists of reloading 2 pistols simultaneously by releasing the empty magazines, pointing the guns to the ground, dropping 2 fresh magazines out of one's jacket sleeves, or strapped to one's legs, into the guns, and then carrying on shooting. In the film Bulletproof Monk, 2003, the monk with no name, portrayed by Chow Yun-fat, empties 2 pistols, ejects the magazines and spins to kick the empty magazines at his assailants. In the Rundown 2003, Beck Dwayne Johnson holds a pump shotgun in each hand, fires, then flips both to be upside down and pointing backwards, and snaps them between his arms and torso to chamber a new round into both shotguns. The style is also featured, albeit in a small way and with the assistance of gadgets, in the Lara Croft, Tomb Raider movies. In Wanted 2008, assassins belonging to the fraternity possess a skill of bending bullets around obstacles. In a gunfight early in the film, one assassin knocks another bullet out of the air with his own round. In X-Men Origins Wolverine 2009, Agent Zero Daniel Henney reloads his handguns by throwing them into the air and catching them with the magazines he's holding in his hands. 1992 saw the introduction of gun fu to the horror movie script. In Sam Raimi's cult classic Army of Darkness 1993, Ash Bruce Campbell uses a 12-gauge Remington double-barreled stagecoach gun as both a close combat weapon and as the gun it is. Many scenes show Ash doing flips over the various undead, landing, shooting over his shoulder, even throwing the weapon and catching it only to continue to fire. The character John Preston Christian Bale demonstrates a system of martial arts called gun kata in writer/director Kurt Wimmer's Equilibrium 2002. Gun kata is differentiated from other gun fu styles by a focus on rote memorization of probabilities, instead of feats of pure reflex. Through repeated simulations and practice, practitioners are able to fire at their attacker's position, while moving out of their attacker's most likely return fire trajectory and essentially dispatching their enemy while dodging their enemy's bullets. Preston also has special devices mounted into his sleeves/wrists that feed magazines smoothly into his weapon, but the gun kata itself provides him with optimum firing angles as well as defensive postures and movements. The 2006 film Ultraviolet, also written and directed by Wimmer, featured much-anticipated gun kata 2.0 scenes, which used a superpowered protagonist and futuristic technology to expand on the gun kata ideas created in Equilibrium. In the 2010 film Kick-Ass, the character Hit Girl, played by Chloe Grace Moretz, frequently uses gun fu. In the 2012 film Django Unchained, the climactic shootout in Candyland is inspired by John Woo, replicating scenes from The Killer Shot by Shot. The 2013 G.I. Joe Retaliation also featured gun fu in the climactic fight between Roadblock and Firefly. Gun fu is also featured heavily in the 2014 film John Wick and the 2015 film Kingsman: The Secret Service. The Half-Life game modification The Specialists is one of the very few examples of multiplayer gun fu. The mod features melee and gun combat, with encounters often resulting in frenzied exchanges involving both types of attack. Dual-wielding weapons, slow motion, and advanced melee are popular features of the mod, which still has a loyal following years after the final version was announced. Another Half-Life mod, The Opera, is named after Hong Kong blood operas, and features akimbo-wielded handguns and stylized gunplay. Players are awarded cash for stylish kills performed during flips, cartwheels, and other martial arts-inspired maneuvers. Gun fu moves, closely tied with a slow-mo concept essential to their execution, appear in the video game Max Payne, along with dual-wielding various weapons, including semi-automatic pistols and machine pistols such as the Uzi and the Ingram Mac-10. The game, itself heavily influenced by Hong Kong action cinema, arguably signified the advent of extensive slow-mo as an interactive device in video games. Shadow Hearts, from the New World features a character, Nathan, whose special skill is labeled gun fu and is designed to resemble the martial art. Dante, from the Devil May Cry series, employs gun fu using a variety of firearms, the wielding of dual pistols being his trademark. In 2007, Stranglehold, a game sequel to John Woo's cult film Hard Boiled, was released, which featured the protagonist Police Inspector Tequila on another blood-driven conquest. Noelle Vermillion from the fighting game BlazBlue also uses gun kata with her two Nox Niktor's pistols, called Darkus Diabolus Bulwark. In 2009, Cryptic Studios released Champions Online, which features a munitions character class with skills involving dual-wielding pistols. Many of the powers combine firing with martial arts, including a power called Bullet Ballet and a high-level ability called Lead Tempest. The similar game City of Heroes incorporated a dual pistols power set and the expansion pack, Going Rogue, which involves switching between ammunition types mid-combat and various trick shots. Wet, a Grindhouse-inspired, Tarantino-esque shooter action game, was also released in 2009. Ruby Malone, the main player character, carries an assortment of weapons, including twin pistols, dual shotguns, and submachine guns, and if the player fires these guns while acrobatically jumping through the air, sliding on the ground, or running on a wall, then the game will slow down into bullet time. Performing successive kills while in this bullet time state increases Ruby's health regeneration rate and the player's points score, which is used to purchase upgrades. The titular character in the video game Bayonetta features combat resembling gunfu. In addition to handheld pistols, the character has pistols built into the high heels of her boots. Her guns range from her signature weapon, Scarborough Fair, to rocket launchers and unique gunchuckies. The Ranger/Desperado class in Dungeon Fighter Online has several gunfu-style abilities. The online game, Ragnarok Online, has a Gunslinger class, whose main skills resemble gunfu. Gunslinger's advanced class, Rebellion, also has gunfu skills, and is also the only class capable of wielding the powerful Alteraries, which is a pair of guns. A Korean-made online game, S4 League, features this type of gameplay. The 2012 video game, The Darkness 2, has Kata as one of the abilities that can be purchased. 2013 video game Deadpool also features Kata as a non-upgradable skill. Athena from 2014 S Borderlands, the pre-sequel, has a skill called Kata that boosts her gun and melee damage. Vayne, a character from the MOBA game League of Legends, does the Kata stances in her dance animation. In addition, the character Lucian does Kata in his recall animation. In the 2016 game Overwatch, the character Ripper performs a Kata-styled attack when using his ultimate ability, Death Blossom. In the free-to-play game Warframe, the frame known as Mesa has an ability called Peacemaker in which she goes into an aimbot mode and does Kata moves as she shoots enemies.